Hello everyone, my name is Miyah and I am joined today by Jedd and Kat, who are going to answer some questions I've got around what it's like being LGBT and at university. So could you introduce yourselves, please?
Hi, I'm Kat. I am a film student and I'm currently doing a master's, but I also did film in my undergrad. And I'm graduating this summer. And during my time at university, I was events officer, vice president and treasurer in the LGBT society.
Hi, I'm Jedd. I studied economics at undergrad. I graduated last year, June 2020. During my time at university, I was the events officer, the president of LGBT Society, and also the LGBT rep on student council.
Lovely. So just so everyone knows, what university is it that you both went to?
Queen Mary, University of London.
Cool, lovely. Okay. So I've got a question for Jedd, which is really simply, what is an LGBTQ society?
An LGBTQ society is responsible for creating like a safe space on campus for the students, for planning events, for allowing the community to thrive, having people introduced to each other. And it's also very student-led. So at the LGBT society at our university might not necessarily be the same as one at another. So we have to take lead from the students and make sure that every event we plan is being planned because the demand is there. And
Lovely. So Kat, what kind of events would an LGBT society put on for the students at their uni?
Well, we did club nights, pub quizzes, film screenings. We did a mix of like drinking events and sober events. So we had a coffee morning type of event. We also would host talks and like panels where we would often give presentations on queer issues or queer history. And we also did outings. Sorry, my mistake. We also did outings to just things off campus, like shows or other club nights or the cinema to see a new film and all that kind of stuff.
Cool. So then, Kat, I suppose my question would be, what were your roles and responsibilities as the events officer at the university?
Yeah, no problem. So as events officer, I basically just oversaw the planning and execution of all the events that we put on. So if we had like a quiz, I would be the person at the front with a little microphone and stuff like that. Basically just making sure the event runs smoothly and I'm getting everybody involved. Also for our club nights, I did a lot of the promotion and marketing, and we did like themed club nights. Often we get the ideas for those club nights from our members and other LGBT students. So I would plan the marketing around that, make sure it was very catered to the students and in queer interests, a lot of pop culture references. And as well, I got to DJ for the club night as well. And we would take song requests from members and LGBT students prior to the club night. So it just felt like we were making every event for other LGBT students, making sure everybody was having a good time.
That's great, thank you. And so Jedd, what were your roles and responsibilities in your positions on the committee and on the student council?
So when I was president, my responsibilities were really just ensuring that the committee understood their roles and like understood how best to use their roles to serve the students. And then I would communicate with the students, take their opinions and their thoughts and ideas to regular committee meetings, and we would talk about how within each of our roles that we could best fulfill the demands of the students. And really we just had to make sure the logistics of planning these events, creating these spaces, making places online where they could talk and communicate, we had to make sure all the logistics of that was just behind the scenes and not really any concern for the students who were supposed to just turn up and have a good time, really. And then during my time on student council, I was LGBT rep, and I went to student council meetings, some like larger board meetings and some smaller ones where we just discussed the welfare of students, and we would have like meetings with the BAME rep, the women's rep, where we would discuss the students we represented and how best to improve their time on campus. And then once a year in February, we did LGBT History Month, where I would collaborate with the trans rep and the LGBT rep from the medical school. And we would put on two cross campus month-long calendar events where we had screenings and quizzes and club nights, and there was a drag show. And we made sure there was an event every day or two, and we kept everyone on campus up to date with constant emails and updates. And there was academic departments involved. There was different societies involved. We got everyone to come together on campus to bring a month-long calendar of events for the community, which was the biggest project, and it's the main event really of your year in that position.
Mm-hmm. That sounds amazing. It sounds really, really exciting. So I think then my kind of follow-up question would be, what effect do you feel that having access to an LGBT society actually has for queer students? Kat, if you want to go first.
Yeah, no worries. Well, I know for me, when I first got to uni, it was just nice. Well, I actually picked my uni based upon whether it had an LGBT society or not, because I just wanted to know that when I got onto campus, there was a space for me and that I could be accepted at that uni. So being able to meet like-minded people right off the bat just made me feel really comforted and really safe. So even if those people weren't my friends or anything, I would still know these people and have people to turn to if I needed to. But it was really reassuring for me, and it made my uni experience really positive.
Jedd, what about you then? So what effect do you feel that being a part of an LGBT society has on students?
I actually didn't get involved in the LGBT society in my first year, so I can see a clear difference between my experience at uni before and after I joined, and it was night and day. After I joined LGBT society, I was surrounded by gay people. My community reflected who I was, and I just was able to have so much more fun and feel so much more comfortable with the people I chose to surround myself with than I ever have before anywhere. And I think that was that. I think that is the main draw of LGBT society.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that, actually. I think you put that really, really nicely. So as an LGBT person then, how did living at home and studying at college compare to moving away and then studying for your undergrad and your then master's, Kat?
Well, I think being at home, I luckily grew up in Manchester, so I didn't feel like I was going away because to have access to a queer community, because I felt like I was, lucky enough to already be in one. But even so, the differences between being at home and being away at uni are very starkly different. There are certain things that you just can't do under your parents' roof, and even though being in sixth form you have so much more freedom compared to high school and things like that, being in uni, it really allows you to be your own person. And I think as a queer person, that's incredibly important, because it's really special to be able to have that opportunity to get to know yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think uni can definitely facilitate.
That's great. So then, Jedd, as a lesbian, how would you compare studying at college to then moving and going and studying at uni?
So I think I started my me getting very involved in everything in college. I was on the student council and I was treasurer, and I was also an ambassador for college. And in my position on student council, that year they also brought in an LGBT position on student council for the first time ever. And the girl that held that position, brought up trying to bring LGBT education to this compulsory lesson we had once a week that was kind of about community and life and stuff. And I, without really explaining why, and without her knowing I was gay, I was like, I'll help. I will come to those meetings, and just kind of inserted myself into that project she was doing. And over the next few months, I was out a few months later, and I think that was just the first time I took an opportunity to really get involved with something that would help LGBT people in my college, in my direct community. And I think that was maybe kind of foreshadowed how I would end up being towards the end of university. But like Kat said, even the most accepting parents, you're kind of stuck in your ways. You're still existing like you did when you were a younger teenager. When you're still under their roof, it's not to say that we've got horrible parents or anything. It's just simply, sometimes you need the space to find yourself, no matter what your home life is like. And I really think that was something we personally didn't find until we went to the university.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, thank you for that. So Kat, a question for you. How did going into higher education help to explore and nurture your identity?
Well, I'm quite lucky because being a film student is very arty, and is part of the curriculum that we have to learn about queer theory and feminist theory in the cinema and how all that operates and stuff like that. So by the time I got in second year and third year, I was able to make most of my research projects about pretty much anything I wanted to. And through that, I was able to study queer history and queer theory in a very in-depth way. And that really allowed me to be proud of who I am, and then also just have a further understanding of queer history and things that you don't learn about in school. And I feel very lucky for that. And for instance, my master's dissertation that I'm finishing at the minute is on religion and lesbian cinema, which might sound a bit strange because, I think we have a lot of assumptions that religion and being queer can't go hand in hand, but there's actually a lot of nuance to that. And it's having a research project like this is incredibly rewarding because you get to see all sides to every story, and it's a really positive and amazing experience.
Thank you. Then I suppose, Jedd, the same question to you. So how did going into uni help you to explore and nurture your identity?
So my answer is a little bit different from Kat's. Like, as you can imagine, there's no space for queer theory in the School of Economics and Finance. So I really had to find that outside of the academic part of university. And just back to the things that we did in the last few years of our degrees, I don't think the person I was when I started uni could have ever done that. So I think just the living alone part of university, the getting up and doing it for yourself for like the first time in your life, like it really changed me as a person. And I'm not sure if I ever would have changed in that way if I'd stayed at home. And if I had, I'm not sure how long that would have taken. I think the person I was at 20 versus the person I was at 18 was so starkly different. And that is such a short period of time. And I really do believe it was the kind of, it's not culture shock, but just everything is so different when you're like pulled out of your home life and just put in a little flat on your own. Mm-hmm. And I think it really forces you to figure out who you are. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm just really glad I went. Like, I think we don't consider the ways that we might. I don't think we consider the ways that a comfortable home life stops us from discovering who we are, especially when we're that age, especially when we've never known anything else, when we've only been in one home for 18 years. I really think you need to be plucked out of it to figure out who you become.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. And then my final question is, what advice would you give to any LGBT young people who are considering university?
Well, I'd say if you are considering university, just throw yourself right in. Like, really just get involved, get comfortable with talking to strangers. That's what I did anyway. And just like, be very prepared to be out of your comfort zone. And while that sounds scary, like you will be rewarded for all that bravery and being able to do things you never thought you could do. Being at university, I've met so many friends that I know, but like undoubtedly will be friends with for the rest of my life. And I wouldn't be who I am today without university, and especially being queer. I don't think I would be as proud to be queer as I am today without university. So honestly, just do it. Because while it might seem scary and you might have a lot of doubts, it will be one of the best experiences of your life.
Thank you, Kat. And then Jedd, the same question to you. So what advice would you give to any queer students who are thinking about going to uni?
I would really encourage you to go. I think it's an opportunity that you may not get again to really find your community in any way you like. You can get to university and decide to surround yourself with other people who love hockey. Like, you can get to university and find your community in like Pokemon society. Like, obviously I'm very pro LGBT societies and getting involved in that way, but you really can find people who have all sorts of these niche interests you have once you get there. And I think that's something you can't really fathom when you're in school or college, and maybe the largest school you could be in is about 2,000, but you'll get to university and there'll be tens of thousands of people. And you can really find your little family in there. And I think that is the best thing. I think that's the best next step for gay people at your age. I think you'd already benefit from that in the ways that we do.
Yeah, and absolutely, just don't be afraid to be yourself at all. Like, all of your interests that you might think are a bit embarrassing or that you're scared to admit, like, you will absolutely meet people at uni that also like those things and also don't care that it's a bit weird or like a bit niche. Like, you will find your family.
That's lovely. Okay. Well, thanks, guys. That was a really, really great chat, and I hope to anyone watching that you've gotten a lot out of it. So I'd just like to say a really big thank you, Jedd and Kat, for taking the time to speak with us. And yeah, take care and bye-bye.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.